just caught me out of the shower. And obviously I'm wearing my Strange New Worlds uniform because we get a little gift in this episode. So make sure to like, comment, share. Welcome back, welcome to, and let's get into Season 5 of Discovery, the episode Mirrors. So this episode is a weird mixed bag of Star Trek, and I think it's one of the clearest examples of Discovery not just doing action-packed episode. There was plenty of action in this episode, but a lot of it was backstory for our two villains and a lot of sort of more relationship stuff from Michael and Burnham, and obviously they're chasing another clue. We get the ISS Enterprise, and I think there's a reference to the Mirror episode in TOS. I'm actually not quite sure. I didn't want to have to go re-watch it, so I didn't need it. It's a really fantastic episode in terms of tone. We get a wormhole, which looks fantastic. Discovery looks fantastic. Obviously the ISS Enterprise is the Strange New Worlds ISS Enterprise. The overall episode looks and feels fantastic. Rayner gets put in command of the USS Discovery when Burnham and Booker go through the wormhole to find the clue. And we get some really great interactions between Rayner and the crew, much more professional, much more by the book than we used to on Discovery, and it's actually a really nice change. But we do see that he is sort of finding it difficult to deal with it alone, and Stamets has a call back to the last episode where he says you don't have to do it alone, and then he says it sounded better coming from you. The episode gives us some big things and some interesting things. We find out how Maul and Locke meet. We find out that Locke is a breen, which we've never seen, and apparently they're jelly-faced people, or gelatin, or like, I want to say they're kind of like, I'm going to say jellyfish people. Anyway, they're just all globular. You'll see it, if you watch the episode, you'll see it. And they meet because she is obviously doing courier stuff, and he is been demoted. He's a prince, or like a member of the royal family of Breen. They fall in love, and we see that. We see the choices they made to come together, the choices they made to do things. We see why they're so close. Booker on this mission feels like he can approach Maul because she is family, and his mentor was her father. She hates her father. He loves his mentor, and he feels like she is family. There's an interesting standoff motif where they get separated and they have to talk to each other independently. Burnham talks to Locke, and she kind of sort of understands. She relates to Locke in the sense that he is Booker when they were together. That relationship between Michael and Booker and Maul and Locke is similar in dynamic, and she points it out. But if you notice throughout the episode, she's very focused on the clue, or the piece of the clue of which is in Locke's hand. So no matter what she's saying, her focus is to get that. It's a really clear focus, and an interesting character turn for Burnham in that we are shown that she has one goal. And it's this episode actually shows a lot of that. At the beginning, this is our plan. Later on, this is what we're going to do. She's very decisive. She's very captainy. And I'm loving this season for the captainy stuff. Michael, on the other hand, is talking to Maul, and he talks about how he didn't know and he loved her and her mother. Not Michael, Booker. And that you see them develop a loose tie. Michael tries to fool them with a locket. In the end, to get the force fields down, because they were separated by force fields, we get this great scene of the Enterprise, ISS Enterprise, is falling to the mouth of the wormhole, which oscillates like a giant sphincter. And it was just like a space sphincter. So we've got space vaginas from season 4, and we've got space sphincters now. It's a very interesting sexual orgasminism of Discovery. The ISS Enterprise is falling into that, and Discovery's coming up with a way to solve it. Rayner is going through the cruise, working out. He promises someone a bottle of something, and they all come up with integral parts of the idea to save Michael Burnham and Booker and Maul and Locke. And Maul and Locke luckily escape because Locke is injured by Burnham in a fight, and Maul just takes him and fucks the hell off. Booker and Michael get back to Discovery, and then they're on the hunt. All the Starfleet is looking for Maul and Locke. They don't have the clue anymore. Michael does, which has a little vial of fluid in it. That's going to be checked by Stamets. Then we have more oddly religious preaching, and I don't mind mysticism, but this one clearly said it. Tilly says to Culber, who's been wanting to talk to her, that he's having trouble dealing with this stuff going on. He died, he had Jetrel in him, and this whole mission. Tilly goes, well, you're talking about spirituality. Don't make this the Star Trek V of Discovery. I don't want it to be God. I want it to be something worthwhile. Star Trek and Starfleet in general isn't about gods. Now, you might say Deep Space Nine had the emissary and had the wormhole aliens / the Bajoran gods, but they were always placed as, yes, this was spirituality for the Bajorans, but for Starfleet these were wormhole aliens, non-corporeal, and there was a nice clear divide behind it so that you had both sides. This is very much falling into we are finding our creators, we're finding God, and it's driving me insane. And I get why they're doing it. I know that America is a very religious country. I don't know why it has to be in everything they do, but it always is. Star Trek managed to keep away from it for a while, but sometimes, especially this season. And I love this season of Discovery. I think this episode personally is fantastic. I think it has a nice balance of character development with Maul and Locke, Michael and Booker, the crew itself working together. I don't get why they keep putting Michael and Booker together like that's all we want to see. To be honest, if it's the last season, I want to see all of the crew doing all of the missions. And this seems very much like, let's focus on Michael and Booker because we want them to either fall back in love or move progress in their relationship. Which, it feels a little bit like that's all. They just keep sticking Booker and Michael together. There's another reference to Action Saru. We didn't see Saru this week. Doug Jones took a holiday. It's the only issue I have with it, well, two issues, is that spirituality, and that I wish that someone other than Booker went with Michael. Like, I get why she took him, but there's no reason for it whatsoever. What did you think about this episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 5? I thought we were going to get a bit more Mirror Universe as well, but we didn't. We just got the ISS Enterprise and a possible link to TOS, and we used the Strange New World set, hence this. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether it's my favourite, but it's close, and it's certainly a lot slower pace, but it kept me intrigued the whole way through, especially all the stuff in the Breen. They look cool, and they still look similar to the way they did. The way they talk, we had them talking English, we had them talking the way they did with the Breen. The only thing I found is they were less physically intimidating, which I don't mind, but I just wish that they got some bigger dudes in those suits. They have sort of a regal quality about them as well, which is really weird. But I loved learning something new about a species we knew in the past, and one of the most interesting species. It's like they've taken a list of, oh, this is an interesting story, this was an interesting species, this was an interesting plot point. Like, they've taken things from the past and gone, let's do all of these. And it's a good way to do it, because unlike Picard Season 3, we're not stealing stories, we're adding to stories. And that's what I love about this season of Discovery. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I have been Trek Trav. I will see you next week for Discovery Season 5. I'm also doing a talk about Discovery and Picard in comparison, which will be coming out this weekend. Make sure to check out or subscribe to see more.